Hello, hello.
Oh, it's working nice.
Nice. So, welcome everybody.
Can you do me a favor, Scan?
Yeah.
Can you go into my server and send the link to this so that I can let people know that that's going on?
Of course. Let me get it.
I appreciate you.
No problem. I have so many Discords, I need to find it.
Oh, you're fine.
Yeah. So, in which channel? Just in the general?
Yeah, general's fine. I just put a thing, hey, I'm up doing that, so if you want to send them the link.
Okay. Stern is making a Fakemon course on our Discord, whoever is interested to take part in it.
Huh.
Sweet. Okay. That is
Perfect.
Stern, is it allowed to record this the stream?
That's fine. I'm going to be recording it.
Oh, okay.
I'm recording just my document, just my Photoshop document here. I'm not recording audio or anything, so if you want to record stuff, go for it.
Okay.
You can see as a true artist, my document is still labeled as untitled.
Okay. So then we have this. Shit.
I'm going to put on my drawing glove.
One,
because I'm going to be on my tablet. The other, because it is freezing in the room that I'm in right now.
Yeah, it's totally cold. Even in Germany, it's so cold here.
I was going to ask what's the temperature there, but I do not know Celsius to Fahrenheit, so I wouldn't be able to.
Yeah, but it's like -2, I believe, here.
Alexa, what is -2 degrees Celsius in Fahrenheit?
-2 degrees Celsius equals 28.4 degrees.
Oh yeah, no, that's freezing where you're at.
Yeah, that's very cold.
Oh yeah.
So I'm good to go whenever. I don't know if you want to give an intro or anything, or if you want to wait for more people. Well, it's up to you, however you want to run it. I'm just here doing my thing.
I mean, my English isn't the best, and I love your intros on your videos, so it's your course, man.
Sure. Hi everyone, I'm TheSterninator, but my friends call me Stern. I was asked by Scan to come in here and kind of show you guys the way that kind of we turn regular art or other styles of art into Pokemon styles so that they fit more so for the server and more so for the Dystoria Minecraft server. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
I think that's fair to say. So I'm just going to be running down stuff here. I've asked Scan that if good questions do come up, that Scan will kind of let me know. I'm pretty good at drawing and talking at the same time. I do live streams on Wednesdays. So if a good question comes up, Scan, please vocalize it.
I will keep my eye on it.
But yeah, I'm going to show you kind of here. What I have here is I grabbed a piece of art. I didn't want to grab something that someone else had drawn or steal art without someone's permission. So I went to Wizards of the Coast, D&D, grabbed one of their creatures, which very clearly is not in the Pokemon style. And I grabbed a reference that I'm going to be using to kind of see and keep my eye on what the style is, so that I can kind of try and mimic the Pokemon style, which over time has become.
Oh, is it not? It's not on yet.
Oh
We can
man, I
see
had
it.
a really cool thumbnail this whole time that wasn't showing. Share your screen. Share screen. Is it not coming up? Why?
No, it's not coming up. Why?
Oh, Discord's not liking it for some reason. I'll just do entire screen
Yeah.
and hope for the best there. It's not liking it. It's not allowing it. Can you check if that's something on your end there, Scan?
Let me try on myself. For me, it's working.
Okay.
Oh, no, it's not a permission issue. I just gave him all permissions on Discord.
Interesting. Let me see here. More
Yeah.
options. It's not even giving me like a pop up of like here's why. It's just being like no, can't.
Yeah, if you go to screen desktop, it just tells you it doesn't
Yeah,
work.
I'm
or
trying.
what?
Let's see. Entire screen share. No. I think let me see here. I might have another option here.
No.
I've got another option here. One sec. I'm gonna go ahead and just take this, do that, do this, do that. Interesting. Yeah, it's not liking it.
Or try to rejoin the call.
Yeah. All right, let me see. Not liking it.
What is this? I mean, for permissions, you should have everything.
Is it? I wonder if it's like a not a permission thing, but like a hey, you're not a mod on the server or something, so therefore can't. So I have permissions to do so, but the stage itself's permissions are bad.
Yeah, let me check the stage itself. So give me your Stern.
While you do that, I'll vamp. So yeah, Scan reached out to me and said, "Hey, are you interested in doing this?" I said yes, because yeah, specifically when you look at like the Pokemon style and stuff that's being translated from the Pokemon style into Cobblemon, specifically in the Dystoria server, there is kind of a certain vibe that is meant to be translated between the two, and so we want to make sure that we're able to hit that vibe as best as possible. Share your.
Can you try again? No, okay, we got it.
Is it just a black screen? Can
It's
anyone
gray,
else?
yeah.
Yeah,
it's
black.
gray.
All right, let me do this. Change stream to. I'm gonna break something, aren't I? We'll just go to full Photoshop. Will that work? There it is.
Yeah, and now it's working.
Lovely, lovely. We're here. We're in it. So I'm gonna close this thing 'cause I
Nice.
don't need this necessarily. There we go. But yeah, so I went ahead and I grabbed an image off of Wizard of the Coast D&D. They've got enough money that they're not going to be upset about me stealing a piece of art for this. And I grabbed a picture of Boltund as a reference for kind of the style with an animal of similar build, so that we can use that as reference to make sure that we're on the same track there. But yeah, Scan, if interrupt me, I'm going to go through like a lesson plan style setup here, and interrupt me if a question comes through that you feel
I
like
will.
you need to have answered.
If I don't see a question, because I got blinded, Lunatic also helps me.
Hello. Yes.
No, I don't think for you, Primal.
Before we even get started on drawing stuff, I'm going to grab this picture of Boltund here. If we look at the differences between kind of, first off, foremost, between this here and this here, this picture over here, this guy.
Oh, I cannot sing.
Can't see?
No, I can't
Yeah, we
sing.
can see.
Someone was asking if I could sing for them.
Oh, if we look at this guy here, very much not the Pokemon style. So this is obviously very different than what we're trying to accommodate. Make sure my pen, I got a little delay on there, but that's kind of the idea, is we're going to be able to kind of turn any version of what we're working on into a Pokemon style. Yeah, and I have Bolt Hunt here as a reference. I always suggest grabbing your references because that's going to help you the most, making sure that you have references. I don't know if anyone here has ever seen my videos, but very often I'll have kind of the image that I'm trying to create or using as reference in the corner. It's usually cut off by the video, but it's usually down there.
You're hiding it.
Yeah, sometimes it's usually just the scaling of the picture, but yeah, sometimes it works out that way. So we're gonna take this guy here, and work on. That's a terrible lasso. There we go.
Oh wait, actually, I have a question from someone. He DM'd me to ask you also
Sure.
about programs. Wait, let me find the chat real quick. There he is. Could you maybe ask him if he could explain or show the tools he uses for Fakemon art, and if he knows the equivalent to those in Krita?
In Krita, I don't know the equivalent in Krita, but everything that I'm using is in Photoshop and is base Photoshop. I don't have specialized brushes. I don't use any specialized textures. If you have base Photoshop or base anything, you'll be able to do this. The brush that I'm using right now is a plain brush with a dithering towards the end. So you can see here. Let me actually turn this to full. It's pressure sensitive, so I'm full pressure here, but as I go and I decrease pressure, it's becoming thinner. And you can see here, it's like I can wiggle wobble it. But that's what we're using. The canvas size that I'm using, it shouldn't matter. But the canvas size that I'm using is 6,000 by 3,000 pixels. So beefy guy.
Okay.
First thing that I would say to suggest is whenever doing art, to prep your brushes, grab a reference image at all, bring it to about the size that you're going to want your art to be in. Zoom in. It's crazy blurry, but I want to try and mimic the line width as much as I can. So here, that's a line width of 10 compared to the line width that we have here. So I'm pretty happy with that. That's the reason I use a 6,000 by 3,000 is 10 is a nice round number. So I can know that 10 is where I want to be for my lines. Right? So that allows me to do that stuff. When I want to go into finer detail, I can go up or down 1 or 2. Those lines get a little bit thinner. When I want to go just a little bit thicker, I know that I can always return to 10. So that's why I'm working with a brush size 10. And I'm working on a dithering brush, which is the size dithering brush, because it allows me to have a little bit more control over what my lines look like. Like if I have a circle like this and I'm trying to match it, if my brush was always the same width, I would have to match it exactly. Since I have a dithering brush, I can match it pretty dang close, knowing that it's going to be pressure sensitive. So when looking at this reference here, there's a couple things that we want to do to give this a Pokemon-ish style. I'm going to make my brush bigger just so that we can see. And I'm going to make it red. That way we can separate it from what we're working on. This head here, very canine head. You know, we have that. We have the scruff. We have kind of how the jawbone. That's a very fat jawbone. All of this is very canid. Most Pokemon don't really rely on this type of shape here, right? On how the mouth goes up like this, how we have the eye. Most eyes on dogs have a little nodule there, stuff like that. If we take this and we apply it to something like Bolt Hunt, we can see some vast differences between the complexity of the two, right? So what we want to do, and even when we look at designs that are much more canid, like if you think of like Houndoom, even that here is much more simplified. So we want to make sure that we can do something to make this much more simplified. I'm going to take out everything here and start with the structure.
We've got our first question.
Yeah, go for it.
Is it better to grab a normal reference usually or Carbamon, or is either fine?
It depends. I think that's one for scan, but I'll start it. It depends on what the purposes are that you're going to use it for. When you're looking at a Cobblemon one, you're trying to do a one-to-one translation for what it's going to be used for. So you have to be spot on with how the blocks are going to be used, right? But Scan, what do you think on that? Should they draw on the Cobblemon style, or should they draw on a Pokemon style to be translated?
Mostly you can do it also on a Pokemon style, and we try to implement it in the Cobblemon pattern, how they make their mons on Cobblemon, because they have also rules how to draw them with the pattern, but mostly like all Pokemons existing can be modified to Cobblemon, so it doesn't matter. So best is to just take the Pokemon style.
Mm-hmm. So here you can see, and thank you for the question. Thank you for the response there, Scan and Lunatic. Appreciate you.
No problem.
You can see I'm going in and kind of simplifying the shape. This, now you can see, it doesn't look anything like the shape underneath it, but it has all of the key components that tell us that this is a canid feature, okay? We may even go in and kind of like more current generations like to do. They like to give just a little bit more emphasis to certain areas, like the nose may bend up just a bit to give it a little bit more cartoony of a feel. You can see here on Boltund down below that this becomes very boxy because he's meant to be almost like meant to be a hound. So I'm going to come in here and do the same. Make this just a little bit more cartoony. Much more modern generation. And you can see there we're starting to get more of that canid feature. So just with that, let me turn this off here. We can see more of the character coming through and less of the mimic of the real life actual counterpart, or as real life as Dungeons and Dragons can get. But we're getting more of that style while still retaining a lot of the aspects that make this design what it is.
We've got a follow-up question to that. For reference, should we use certain type of animal mon as a reference, so like frog and Politoed?
It depends. So that's a really good question. A lot of the times when I'm using references, it depends on what my vision for the design is. If you're saying I'm going to make a frog Pokemon, and you say, okay, great, then you would probably want to get something like Palpitoad, or something like, Palpitoad's a bad example, like Politoed or Poliwhirl or things like that. But then if you decide that you want to do further, and you say, well, I would like it to have this big spiky ridge. Well, a lot of our frog Pokemon that we currently have don't have that. But there are other Pokemon that do. Take, for example, Tyranitar. Has those huge spiky ridges. Look at that not as an example of I'm going to cut and paste, but as an example of how the Pokemon company and how the Pokemon design handles those types of textures, handles those types of structures in design. Because, if you have a spiky ridge on this guy, I could go like, where's my marker? I could go like, I want to erase. Like, let's do these big needle points. And maybe that's something you want to do, but most Pokemon design doesn't have those crazy needle points. They, as we've done with the head, they simplify that more so into these shapes that accommodate that design. Hoping that makes sense. But yeah, you don't have to stick specifically to one. Like, this is a frog, so I should look at frogs. This is a dog, so I should look at a dog. This is another word that rhymes with frog or dog, so I have to stick with that. No. You can use whatever you'd like. And even in that case, Rhyhorn doesn't look very much like a rhino. A log. Yeah, it's a great example.
Like, mostly Pokemon also combine two stuffs like cat and mouse or something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So keeping that in mind, there is no solid structure of where to get your references. it wholly depends on what you're trying to do here. Like here, this is a canine character. I could very easily just go like, triangle eye. And look, it's a Charizard now, despite the fact that I used a dog reference. For here, like,
Before.
huh?
I know, just Ukulin said the fork.
Fog. Here,
fog.
so all sorts of structures here. I'm really wanting to guide out how I want this design to look. So I'm going to focus away from the head. And actually, given that this is true dog proportions, here's the tail, here's the back leg, here's etc. I want this to be Pokemon version, so I'm actually going to change this to feel a little bit more friendly, a little bit cartoony. We're going to make the head a little bit bigger. And actually, rather than that, I'm going to take my reference and make that smaller. Because if we look at Boltund over here, that's not what size a dog's head typically is. So I can come here and here. I'm actually going to change the stance a little bit. And all of this comes down to like your design, what you're hoping to do. And the best way to simplify these designs is to give them these shapes. Even with your big and blocky characters, using these round shapes are going to help us block out where the shoulders are, where the haunch is, things like that. And then, of course, I'm going to turn that off so that I can see what I'm working on a little bit. Now that we have kind of our base structure there. But yeah, you can see here, these rounded edges and things don't really exist in here. In here, it's a lot more smooth of a transition, as most animals are. If you look at your arms aren't hyper segmented. They have an elbow and an inner elbow and things like that, but it's all kind of a tube of meat. But if we look at Pokemon designs, very typically they do like to segment stuff. So you can see here down below the bend in where this connects, where the neck connects. Pokemon likes to segment stuff. Do they do it every single time? No, but it's a great starting point for you to begin at, is things are broken up into different shapes. Here we have the haunch. Here we have the chest. Here we have where the neck comes. And it does blend together well, but ultimately it's segmented into a couple different areas, especially on things like bugs and bug types and more robotic type of characters. Those will be segmented a lot more cleanly. But even on my sketch layer, I like to come in and clean this stuff up. I want this guy to feel a little bit more live than what I see here. So I'm actually going to come in, reshape the head again, pull it up just a bit, and reshape it back. Because as I was reshaping it, I changed my mind. But to keep it Pokemonified, remember to go with that simplistic structure. How can you say what you're... It's almost like how can you say what you're saying, but in less words? And always wanting to keep in mind, too, kind of the personality of what you're going for. That's something that Pokemon does really well, is maintaining the personality of their characters. Like, this is pretty stock standard stance. If I want him to be a little bit more proud, a little bit more vigilant, I might refocus on turning his head a little bit.
We got a question about the bug legs. Aren't bug legs usually aren't segmented in like Pokemon? Like they are usually one smooth thing? No? Maybe I just remember wrong.
This is aren't Bug's legs typically usually segmented in like Pokemon, like they're usually one smooth thing now? No? Sometimes it depends. So with bugs, they have a carapace, so parts are segmented. Let me grab a reference here, actually, so that we could look at it. Once my computer wants to stop being frozen on that, because I have Discord open and I'm recording and I have Photoshop open. Let's look at the most bug of any bug type ever. Any guesses? Before I pull him in. So what I mean when I say like segmented
Poop
is, huh?
Gulen wrote the poop bug.
The poop bug? Almost.
Poop bug.
I thought about Rabska for a second. Or Relor. But I'm thinking about like Heracross as an example here. Let me get rid of all this white. So you can see here Boltun's arms, if I remove my little sketchies. Arms and legs and body type. It's all smooth, but it does segment. It just doesn't segment as clearly. When we're doing the sketch, we're going to segment it. But we're going to get rid of that stuff as we move through to build the legs and things. Whereas Heracross, those are much more clearly divided. Those are much more clearly separated out. You can see all the cuts and things where these parts of the carapace connect to the body. There's a harsh line there. Even the body itself, all of these lines for movement, things like that. And if I turn that off, that's Heracross. So that's kind of what I'm saying with the segmentation. Segmentation is a part that we're going to do no matter what, but with bug types, we want to make sure, and more things like that where things are kind of meant to be separated, we're not going to go with that smoothing factor as often. There are obviously exceptions, but we want to make sure that we get that done. A big part of this is anatomy. I have a friend who works in comics who actually got a degree in anatomy specifically so he could draw comic book characters better. I think the best example here is going to be the head, and see how we simplified so much between the two. And the shapes that you can use are all over the place. Like we could fully just go like this and have a downward snout, and it's just a different type of canid character. And who knows, that may end up being what we're doing. Where the anatomy part comes in is kind of, again, we're going to segment here. I know that the leg goes there. I know that the other leg is going to be on the other side there. Simplify, simplify, simplify. The legs, I know with a lot of artists when they're trying to copy the Pokemon style, legs and arms are where we trip up a lot. Because they're such complex... I'm gesturing with my hands. I know none of you can see. There's such complex structures on any animal or any human or anything that the line of where do we simplify can become very blurry.
Again, a question related to the Heracross.
Mhm.
How would one approach sexual dimorphism in Pokemon species adapted from real animals? Nidoqueen and Nidoking are completely different Pokemon, but Heracross only has the heart-shaped horn.
It would ultimately depend on when you get to the point of kind of finishing the design. I suggest to keep the sexual dimorphism. This is going to sound terrible. Keep the sexual dimorphism of these characters out of your mind. No, it's design what your base structure is, and then build on how to apply that dimorphism. For example, a lot of the dimorphism that we see in Pokemon comes down to the male counterpart is often what is the stock standard in Pokemon. Like if I looked up Heracross right now, I get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I get 8 images in before I see the first female variant. So and even in Pokemon, prior to having heavy sexual dimorphism between Pokemon, the male was the go-to. When they started adjusting into the two different gender differences, they really had the male stay with what they had, and they made changes for the female most often. Nidoking and Nidoqueen are very, very specific examples. Number one is that in the early Pokemon games, those two Pokemon actually couldn't breed. They were treated as two separate Pokemon. And their designs are intended to look like two very separate Pokemon. But you can see here the leg, for example, again with that simplification. Over here, we can see the leg is like one section here, one section here, one section here, one section here. And even this hip joint is actually two sections. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sections. Here we cut that down to 1, 2, 3. But we still get the same idea across. And I may even go in and I'll simplify a little bit further. Excuse me. Taking away a part of that majority of the leg there. To make sure that we are simplified as much as we can. And again, people are going to say like, hey, what if you add fur? What if you add like flames? What if you add the energy that we see there? In due time, we want to build a base structure first. If we focus on those things, that's where we get caught up and we forget about the rest of the body. I've seen a lot of artists do this. They get caught up in one specific aspect of their design and it overcomplicates that portion in comparison to the rest of the structure. That's where designs start to fall apart in the way of having that Pokemon style look, is putting way too much emphasis or energy on specific areas and overcomplicating them. Because here, like, this thing's going to have fur. If I go in now and I'm like, oh, I'll add the fur here, we're slowly moving into a more realistic aspect and away from the Pokemon style, right? And I get it, like a lot of people are like, oh, well, I want my character to be spiky. I want them to look fluffy. I want them to look... There are ways to do it without over-designing certain aspects or points on it. And I'll talk about that real quick here as I pull up a picture of Wooloo. Luckily, I always have a picture of Wooloo nearby just for my mental health. So here's a picture of Wooloo. We look at that and we understand that that is fluffy. It's meant to be soft. It's meant to be fluffy. It's meant to be, wool-like. But the way that it's designed, they didn't go in and draw every aspect of the wool. They even didn't go in and be like, oh, well, we'll add extra spots here so that you can see that it's fluffy. You get the structure down of what you want, and you go in after to solidify those things. I'm coming here. Oh, I'm on the wrong layer. So here, yeah, our legs on here, hyper simple. The only time that the legs might become more complex is when you have them from the other angle, where there is more of a bend there. But most of the time on a quadruped, those are going to be hidden anyway, because they're going to be hidden behind the front leg. But still, we want to know that they're there. And this is where you get that 3-dimension of, well, how do I show off the fact that I understand 3-dimension in the design with the back legs and things of that nature. There. Give them little T-Rex arms. So we have most of our structure here. Oop, forgot that I have that over there. Simplify. And that's going to be our credo throughout this process. Even as we get into kind of these designs here that are so much more in-depth, we're going to look at how we can simplify those types of aspects. Someone in the chat there knows that I hate horses.
I was just about to read the question aloud.
I hate horses. Yeah, we can look at that. We're like again, I think it's a great point. Let's look at this. And how the Pokemon Company handles this. Because we have a Pokemon here from the early days of Pokemon. That is essentially just a horse. Simplified, but just a horse. Right? Ponyta is just a horse. But if we look at how they handle more modern takes of the same type of idea, even the Pokemon Company has adjusted their take on what a horse is. Let me make these the same height. These are almost two exactly different Pokemon. Look at again, these are the same height now. Look at the size of the head comparison here. boom to boom. And even look at the legs. Here we have a full length top part of the leg, full length bottom part of the leg, with a knee in there. And over here we can even see the shoulder of this portion of the leg. So we have the shoulder, we have the back point where the ankle, where what would be the ankle is. We have the knee. We have the ankle, I guess. We have the elbow, the ankle. That's what it is. Elbow, ankle, knee, shoulder. But if we look at the more modern takes, this is so much change. And I see someone in the comments saying, "New Ponyta is so much better." It's because it's cleaner. It's because it's so much more simplified. We still have the shoulder here, but it is fused with the rest here. This is one shape. They've taken this and made it one shape. And then you have this. They've simplified what was a shoulder, an elbow, an ankle, and two portions of the leg into 1, 2. And even the back leg here. 1, 2. Right? Oh, but it still has this ankle. But look at how this protrudes. Both these areas here protrude. Here, there's almost no protrusion. There is a smoothness and a simplicity there. Even the haunch here, you can see the outline of where the hip is right here. Into the haunch over here. Here, boom. That is one shape for the entire body. One smooth, gradual shape for the entirety of the body. The neck is a bend, and that's it. Here. Now the nose is about the same, but it's much more simplified. The ears take up much more of the silhouette. I'm harping on it, but this is where I'm saying the importance of simplicity and being able to simplify your design is what sells it as a more modern Pokemon take. Okay, get these horses out of here. And so again, you can see that here. We have this huge area here. Like all of this is simplified. That's why I wanted to use Boltund, because Boltund is simplified to all heck. Like even look at the leg here. Like we looked at Ponyta. This leg is one shape for the entire leg. And we can see on the other leg, the reason for this stance is to show off that, yeah, it is two sections, but it can be simplified to that singular shape. A lot of designs that I see people do are wanting to get out as many ideas as possible. And it muddles up, it's terrible to say, but it muddles up the design a lot because, well, I wanted it to have spikes and I want it to have this and I want it to have that. That's awesome. You can do that. But just understand that there is a trade-off. You can't do absolutely everything that you want without taking something from the design. Like even here, I did this shoulder and realized this line where the shoulder would be shouldn't exist anymore. I'm not going to say, oh, well, I already drew it, so it has to stay. I'm going to reassess it. Now we're starting to get to something that feels a little bit closer to a design that we can deal with. Here. Sausage leg. I can go in and define after. I want it to have a little bit of a bend here because I want it to have a certain feel to it. I don't want it to feel soft and slippery as Boltund does. You see? So there's a language that's taking place here. There's a language of simplicity that takes place here with our designs. And now we can get into the point where we're actually solidifying some of these things and where we are having to make those trade-offs to make sure that it still feels like Pokemon. You can draw whatever you want, but if you want it to feel like Pokemon, and for the means that I think we're on this call, I think that's what we all want. You know, you there will be the trade-off of things. Luna, Scan, am I doing a good job? Is this what we were hoping for?
You're doing fine.
Okay. I
Scam's
don't know.
currently eating food,
Yeah,
so
I'm eating. I'm eating.
Oh.
It's
Very
perfect.
fine. I didn't want to be going through and be like, there we go. And it's like, that's fantastic. This isn't what we wanted, but it sounds great.
Yeah.
no, I mean there's enough questions being asked, so I guess you're doing a good job.
Thank you. There you go. But yeah, simplicity. So you can see here, this shape is reminiscent of what we're looking at over here, but it's not one-to-one. We don't want it to be one-to-one. We want it to be a Pokemon version. Even here, I feel like once looking at this, I can simplify this further. Let's take this line all the way up. Remove that leg. Makes this guy feel taller. Makes him feel a little bit more intense. Let's make this line here just a bit flatter to really emphasize that shoulder. And it's like, wow, we're adding a lot of stuff to the design that makes it feel like it's a full character. We're not adding anything. We're actually taking stuff away. And see how the neck, like the implied lines here where the neck kind of comes up. I want to follow that line, that implied line. There we go. I mean, look at all this, all the stuff that we have here in the shape of the body, the buildup. We have the skull, we have the snout. We were able to turn that into essentially one simplified shape here. The snout itself is like nose, top jaw, bottom jaw, eye ridge, upper skull, lower skull, where the nose connects here. We did all of those in the same fashion here with less strokes, less line work. That's the idea. Same thing for the neck. We have the neck, comes down, connects here, multiple segments to the neck, that then comes into this poof here. We turn that into one simple line. In fact, I want to simplify that even further. Take away a lot of that stuff there. There we go. Much simpler.
Okay.
Lovely.
I have a question also from
Yeah.
myself. When you started on Fakemon Creations, did you start it with small Pokemons first, or from the size of the mon? Where did you start it? Was it just you random picked one, or you started small with like cute mons or smaller ones?
Smaller and cuter ones are definitely easier. I suggest that if you're getting started and you're like, I just want to go a natural route of like, I'm coming into art and you're not trying to refine it yet, go and look at some of the simpler stuff, but challenge yourself with some of the more difficult things as well. I am terrified every time that it's like, all right, I have to draw a regional Aggron now. Like, good God.
Oh yeah.
But challenge yourself with those things because that's where you learn. Because there's a difference between like a fin that even now I'm trying to do it. There's a big difference between like a fin that looks like this and a fin that looks like this. There's depth there. That's something that you learn over the course of doing stuff that is a little bit out of your wheelhouse, doing stuff that is a little bit more different than doing those simplified versions.
We got another question.
Well,
Right
that's
now
too
the
bad.
design
No,
looks
go ahead.
very sure. Right now the design looks very leg heavy. Is it better to go with such parts of the design and lean into them, or should you try to adhere to the reference or vision?
It looks very what heavy? I'm sorry.
Leg heavy.
Leg
The
heavy.
legs.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it depends on what you're going for here. Here I see it with a running point, so I want that to be a point on it. I'm using Boltund as my example. You could absolutely come in here and be like, let's make this. Look, he's smaller now. It depends on what you're trying to do. For a design like this, I know that I was coming in wanting something that felt speedy, wanting something that felt very lithe, very active, and very vigilant. That's what I wanted out of this. So I used language that informed that. If this thing's paws were like this, that if all of its paws were in that shape, it doesn't transcribe the idea of speed quite as well. It doesn't translate the idea. So when doing your shapes, keep in mind what idea that you're trying to convey. It's kind of the idea of show, don't tell, but the opposite with art. Tell, don't show. Right? Yeah. The idea that I want to convey is every shape that I'm using conveying that idea. Are all the decisions used in the base structure conveying that idea? Are they showing the idea that I'm trying to present? Because if not, then maybe think about changing something. For example, if I have, let me actually give myself some room here, this shape, and I say, and now I'm going to give it a big blocky tail. Well, in the character's design, there wouldn't be a ton of need for these quick legs and these like skinnier, thinner legs, right? What is the reason behind the decisions that you're making? Because, listen, if we want to make this, and I've said it in videos before, we can draw just a really cool monster. You know, that's easy. We can just draw a really big, crazy, cool monster that has big, beefy legs. Let's give it 6 limbs. Let's give it these massive horns. Let's give it, a big chest piece. Let's give it, a jetpack. That's great. That looks cool. That may accomplish what you were wanting to do. Does it translate the idea and the intent of the design? For example, let's look at some designs here real quick. Let me think of a good example here. We've talked about Tyranitar a ton. Let's pull up Tyranitar. Tyranitar is meant to be a big, burly, pseudo-legendary style figure. Therefore, it has legs that are very much smaller. It has legs that much more facilitate that idea. The legs are stumpy because we want to put more emphasis on the height and on the body. Right? The arms feel very small because we want to put more emphasis on the height and the size of the character. The other thing is on the design here, where are we focusing? Well, we want to focus on the head. How are we making sure that we can focus on the head? Well, there's a couple ways that we can do that. We can create shapes on the head that point towards the center, or we can put points on the head that point away from the point that we're meant to focus on. Like, look, we have arrows here essentially pointing away from the point there, kind of like an explosion. An explosion would be like, and it draws your eye to right here. Here, we have these points pushing outward. Okay? And even these are pushing outward from the center. They're pushing inward to the center. Inward to the center. So your points, you want them pointing either completely away from your point of reference, or your point of what you want stuff to focus on, or they're focusing towards the point that you're wanting to look at. Look at how all these points either focus away, 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 away from the body, towards the body. The eyes, towards the body, towards the head, towards the face. You want your points to either focus towards or away from. Even the stance here. These are pointing away. These are pointing away. These are pointing towards the body. There's not much you can do with the legs. But with every possible point that you have, you want to look, are we focusing towards the body or are we focusing away from the body? And even if we get... Go ahead, sorry.
No, continue the sentence. We have another question regarding that.
Yeah. Well, I'll just do if we look at the points away, 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 points away. Here, I'm just doing a little experiment. Point away, point away, point away, point away, point towards, points inward towards the body, inward towards the body, away, 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 inward towards the body, inward towards the body, inward towards the front of the face. If I take all of that away, you can still vaguely see the points of Tyranitar in here. All right, go ahead, sorry.
No worries. Well, you kind of answered the question already. Ray Rato asked, where's the message? I was also going to ask about dynamic poses. How do you go about adding dynamism if your designs are mostly looking flat looking? I feel most newer artists, or even some who have been doing it for a while, struggle with adding dynamism to their designs, which would add a lot of life to the art if done even just a little bit better.
Yeah, you want to know a cheat? I can show you that. Let me do this. If we take the main structures of the body here, the chest, the hind, and the head. So you're struggling with how to do dynamic posing. Okay? Let's take those points. Let me actually make this a little bit clearer here. Chest, hind, head, feet. Okay. Look at how our shape builds up into a triangle. That means that is a strong structural build. Okay? Strong structural build. Now if I take this away, and we move it somewhere like here. We'll move this somewhere like here. 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 Great. Now let's come back in and redraw our body here. So we got the haunch, comes up to the body, simplifying our shapes, neck into the head. This foot's all the way back here. Going really fast here, but you get the idea. Arm. How are we going to attach that arm? Well, it's got to bend. Other arm over here. Let's do this. Come up. He's got his paw up. But look at that. That's a really dumb dynamic shape, but it is a dynamic shape. When focusing on the dynamic shapes of your body and of your character's build, just remember where the key points, where that initial build is.
He's serving drinks.
He's got his cup here, got his tray, his drinks, little umbrella, you know. But still, you know, once you have the base structure, that's where I get so frustrated. And I get frustrated because it's what I do, and it's what I've always done too, is saying, listen, Stern, doing the skeletal structure and building those base shapes is so frustrating. I just want to draw, and I don't want to focus on using the circles and the sketchy lines to make. So I want to skip all that. Good luck. You're going to miss out on posing. You're going to miss out on understanding those base structures and how to use those to your advantage. If you, I just want to draw. I just want to go into the line art. Good luck. Have fun. I get it. I've been there. But the sketching of those initial shapes is so much more important than the coloring, so much more important than the line work, so much more important than the shadows or the highlights, because it's what allows you to stick those dynamic poses. Like if I were going to draw a dynamic pose of a horse rearing up, I would start here and here. There we go. We're halfway done with building the structure of our character. In fact, I'd say, I want to rear that up more. Nice sausage body. Like, there's no more dynamic pose than a horse rearing back, I think. But you can see just with that shape that we've able to come up with, we already have so much that we're able to do, Beans. You come in here, draw the shoulders.
Sausage Rick.
Sausage Rick. Come in here, draw that. Like 2 seconds, not a little bit longer than that. But horse rearing up. That is the shortest horse leg ever. But because we were able to know where our base points were. Without these base points, you're not going to get to that point, right? So for the question, like, great question for dynamic posing. It's like, great question for dynamic posing. We are 10 levels beyond that here, because it is It comes from the very initial principle of the design. I hope that helps. But here, like, coming into the sketch here, continuing here, we see all of these complicated lines, and it's like, oh, well, I want to include all of that in my design. How can we simplify? Dynamic poses, shuffle the circles around. Got it. Honestly, that's it. That's the knowing where you want to go with it and using those base shapes. It does a lot. Step 1, do the circles first. Yes. But here, I want something strong. So where my base structures are is in this pyramid shape. Again, try to figure out what you're trying to convey through the shapes that you're using. So we got these shapes here. We want to incorporate these somehow. I'm going to bring in another reference. I can't remember the Pokemon's name. I do. Let me pull it up. And I keep bringing up simplicity because it is the point where I see so many people stumbling with design. So I know that it feels like I'm harping on that. One might say it's because it's important. So let's come in here. How do other designs handle these complicated shapes? Such as like we see on the legs of Xerneas and the face of Xerneas, and we see in the tail and arms of Yveltal. How are they handling these shapes? This thing could have these crazy grooves and line work around it. It could, and it would convey the same idea that we see here. Same thing for Xerneas. So how can I simplify these shapes? Well, I want to use the shapes that we already have as examples on that. Strong since I don't believe in the X and Y shape theory, but I'm going to use the shapes that we already have to make these. So I can come in here and add shapes that go along with the shoulders and things like that that we already have. Would it be cool to be like, oh, it's got a big X on its chest? Sure. Can you make it work? Can you make it happen using the shapes you already have? You can. Like if we do this, up to the neck, and then down. Yeah, you absolutely can. But use the shapes that you already have in order to make that happen. Again, so many people think that when you're designing a character, it's about what can I add to it. No, it's so much more about what you can take away. So here, I like that. And I'm going to mimic that same shape here. And then because these are like crisscrossy, I'll maybe connect the two here. And I will say this too, because I know it was asked earlier, and I kind of skipped this point. I'm sorry. But you'll notice that when I'm sketching, I'm actually not using my 10 brush. I'm actually on 20 right now, so my sketch brush is bigger. Let's see, we're trying to keep some of this stuff while figuring out where we can simplify things. Oh, but Stern, look at, there's so many more lines that go here. There's so many more that intersect. Yeah, and we can do that. But it's about balancing where those lines are going to come in. It's like I may do something like that. And if I had more time, I'd refine it a little bit more. But you get the idea. Fan of light blue sketch personally. I often use black, but I'm using red here just because it's a little bit more versatile when drawing over other things. And then comes the terrifying part where I have to mimic exactly what I did there on this leg. But again, it becomes a lot easier when we're following the shapes that we already have rather than making brand new shapes. Vova is replying to their question that it wasn't answered. Is someone able to pull that up for me?
Yeah, wait. Wait 1 second. Let me read. Okay, another question. Is even many simple shapes can be too much, or is it fine, for example, if it's kind of accurate? What do you think?
Can you have too many simple shapes? Yes and no. It depends how you're using them. Another great example here. You know what? Let's go for the big guy. I was gonna say let's look at Aggron. No, we can go further beyond. Let's grab Mega Aggron. You'd say, wow, that is a complicated design. In some ways, yes. But if we look here, it may have a lot of shapes associated to it, but so many of them flow from one to the other. So like here, this chest shape goes right into these. See? Those two things connect. And then the body, same thing. And then the tail, same thing. So we're using the simple shapes and we're just repeating them. Okay? The only times that we have stuff where it gets a little bit more complicated with the shapes is on the knees. And that's because it's intentional to the character's design. Even the arms, like, man, he's overcomplicated. His arms are 2 segments. With additives drawn on, which we'll get to, but his arms are 2 segments. His head is a nightmare. But even here, kind of like we looked at on Tyranitar, here's more. This shape continues here. Look at how those 2 shapes flow into one another. Look at how even the skull flows down the back. It's 3 simple shapes, which ultimately are one guiding line. Excuse me. His head is several simple shapes that ultimately are one guiding line throughout.
We've got another question where you got to look at the chat. He asked, what if you have no shape? Like on this guy, he linked one he probably did. I am still unhappy with the patterns, but I had so much gray empty space that I feel like it needed something, leg and butt. I can link the message.
Yeah, I see it here. What if you have no shape, like on this guy? I'm still unhappy with the patterns, but I have so much gray empty space that felt like it needed something, legs and butt. Well, I would ask you this. If it needs something because you feel like the back is without the stripes is too simple and too plain, what part of this Pokemon are you trying to show off? Are you trying to show off the back legs, you butt guy? Or are you trying to show off the rest of that fluff on the head and body? Or is that something that we're trying to emphasize? Because it depends on what we do there. Because like I said, you may be looking at it and saying, oh, well, the issue is, if I can take this. Am I about to give someone a free commission? Again, you say, oh, well, this over here is all too, there's not enough going on. But what is our area of emphasis here? Our area of emphasis should be this, right? So what if we fix our problem with the back legs by fixing this instead? Not fixing. This looks great. This is a great design. That is the focus, but it felt unbalanced with too much focus on the top part. Get out your pens and papers. I'm going to tell you something really interesting here. There is a rule in art and in design called small, medium, large. Super easy, super simple, right? The idea is your main focus, big. Medium focus, small focus. So you say, I want the head to be more of the focus. You say the head is the focus, but it felt imbalanced with too much focus on the top part. I understand. It could be an imbalance problem. What if we do this? Take all this. And we use the focus of big, small. What if we make this fully big? Use the legs as that balance of simplicity, where what was a problem now becomes a point of interest. Okay? Make this a little bit rounder in comparison, a little bit bigger so that it can hold up the rest. And now your eyes get to kind of rest with everything that we do up here where we have, big. This is our big point. So let's go medium for the ears, which I think is the perfect size you have there. But if we make the back bigger, if we make this hood part here bigger, then suddenly it feels like this back end here is purposefully simplistic. And then you can throw in the tail. That bigger, again, to throw off our size comparison here. Bigger, so that we can go smaller on the nose. It's about the weight of the areas that you're looking at here. And I'm not saying this is a perfect fix. I'm not. What your design there is I love the design and idea and story of what you have. We're saying if we want to adjust some things here, let's use our big, small, medium. The fur, big. The crest, big. Makes the rest of the body feel smaller and gives your eyes a chance to rest when looking at the rest of the design here. And we can still do stripes. That's not a problem at all. But instead of these narrow stripes, if we use big stripes like this, we A, are taking up more space, and B, keeping it simple. Does that help? Pixel version 2. We're making the headpiece in pixel. Yeah. Shapes, I already want to catch it. But yeah, you look at that. We'll take this and just kind of play with some of the stuff here. Maybe even widen him out. You messed me up because now I want to spend all my time on this. But yeah, see, very different from what we had initially. Same idea, but the translation is a little bit easier. Where it's, hey, the problem was the back is really simple. We turn that from a fault into a, what is it? It's not a bug, it's a feature. It allows your eyes to break. You have this ball to remind you that everything up here is the focus. We've aligned these a lot more so that they point inward towards the face. The ears point inward or away from the face. The pattern points towards here. And the points where they're not doing that, where we have the legs pointing away, or we have the tail pointing away, are diminished to where they're not distracting. Let me see here. There we go. Hopefully that helps. But let's... No. Already had one. There we go. That's the thumbnail. That's a horse. There we go. Here. Keep using the shapes that are already there. And even on this design, you can see kind of that same idea here. Big into medium for the body, into small as we work our way down towards the legs, and then the paws get big again. Mew names all his layers. Yeah, I'm sorry. I usually work really quickly, so I don't... it usually takes me about 20 minutes to do a design. So I work pretty quick, and I don't take the time to name everything. Insane person behavior. Oh, no, I'm aware. Come up here. Every now and listen, on my Patreon, I always feel bad because I give out to certain tiers the Photoshop files, and I'm like, here they are. I'm sorry. Even here, I'm going to simplify this shape. Rather than having a big chin, I want this to feel just a little bit more smooth of a transition. All of this, so we're not even into the line art yet, just a heads up. And then here too, do I want this? Does that convey the idea that I want? Do I want like this? Do I want the jowls to cover the rest? What do I want to do here? How simple do I want to make this? It depends. It depends on the story that you're trying to tell. For this one, I think I'm going to go for that because I want a serious tone. But looking at my reference, he also has these little dinglies. You know, Pokemon doesn't do like, okay, here's the hair. That looks really good. That looks really realistic. But it's not what we're trying to do. How can we make this match the rest? Well, I know that I want to get more of these energy circles and spirals. So if I do something like this, knowing that I can remove it later, if I don't like it.
Yeah, I think it looks good.
Thanks. That informs me here. Oh, we have these lines that are very similar to that shape. Allows me to get a little bit more going on. There we go. Lovely. And then I'm going to come in here. I actually want this head to be a little bit more down. But I want to keep my shapes how they are. And then, like, again, the ears, too. Like, look at the ears. The ears have so much going on. I could do, like, oh, here's the ears, and they have these long wisps of hair, but that's not what we do. Pokemon style, especially with something that we know is going to be translated to Cobblemon later. I'm actually going to do this. And I'm going to follow that shape that we have from the neck. Look at that. Naturally a line pointing away, just like we talked about.
Julian just asked the question, in this design, where would you say the big, medium, and small are?
Yeah, I want to put a lot of emphasis on the head or the chest. So here, we had the head as my big point, but as we've continued to progress, and I keep that in mind, the chest has definitely become kind of our main focus here. And I want to pay that off as we get into further details on the design. I want to pay off that point there. And then the small would be the back. I can probably do that. And you can see it a lot with the legs too. See how we go from big, small, medium, big, because we're feeding into the main body here. The arms are kind of the same point as the rest of the body there. Into small, into medium. Think about big, small, medium. They don't have to be in order. They just have to be, you have to be aware of where your main points of focus are. I like those little wispies there. And if I can reuse my shapes, again, we're all about recycling here. So if I can reuse my shapes, at least for the moment, I don't know if I'm going to keep them, but if we can reuse those shapes, that's where we get back to that taking from rather than adding to. I say as I add. He lies. I like how the ears here have that that continuation of that swirl. I'd look for ways to do that, but here, you see, I'm trying to find a way to make this swirl make sense in the design with what we already have. Because I could just say, oh, well, we'll just do this. There we go, it's done. Even that was a little too. I could just be like, you know, there, that's what he has. But those sharp angles aren't really seen anywhere else other than on here. So I want to avoid them as much as I can. I want to use those shapes sparingly. Maybe if I do this. There we go. We're following the lines that we already have. We're using the shapes that have already been given to us.
A new question. When adding details or patterns to big, medium, and smalls, how far do you take them for each? In general, to not feel over detailed. For example, 3-4 lines, 2-3 circles, etc.
Let me see. When adding detail patterns to bigs, mediums, and large, how small do you go to take them for each general? Well, it depends on what you're focusing on. So something like the llama or the alpaca that we looked at earlier, that big shape takes up so much of the shape. And that's not a bad thing. It takes up so much of the shape that we know, okay, this is what we have as our big. What's the balance that we have here? I can put designs on it to draw your eye to it, but it's already such a big shape that takes up so much space. Do you necessarily need to do that? No, not necessarily. For this one, we're adding details because there is no point that is necessarily, that is the point, that is the shape, that is the area that needs emphasis on it. So it's a balancing act. Like even here, I want this eye like this, but I want to make sure that it's not competing with this circle, that they can complement one another. So I actually want to refine this shape just a little bit more to more mimic that circle underneath it. I might even draw a line up here to the eye so that it feels like those two shapes are connected. I don't want anything competing. I want them to feel purposeful. And here it's like, oh, but what about these little spheres here? What about these little accents here? What about all that? We can see about adding them, but it depends. Like here, I can add those on the eyebrows there. That's not necessarily where they are on here, but we get the same idea across. I want to add these tufts. And so I'm starting with a line that we have that already exists to add those on. I don't want to use something that doesn't already exist. And if I do, I'd better have damn good reason for it. Oh, I drew a spectrobe. There we go. There's someone here. I'm glad to know that someone here knows what I'm talking about. I did a podcast interview the other day with Orash, and he brought up spectrobes, and I was like, why are you making me think so hard about my childhood?
Questioning coming up how you do this every time so good.
Practice. It's the worst answer, I know. I hate answering questions like that because I always feel like it's like, how do you do well? How do you draw well? Practice feels like such a non-answer, but it is the true answer. Is, oh, you have to practice. And a lot of people hear that and they're like, oh, so he's just naturally good. I'm like, did you not hear what I said? And then I like how the tail isn't necessarily a foxtail or a dog tail. It's just kind of like this. There we go. And see, we're going big. And I actually want this to be big into that. And I'm using my thick lines so that I can see things a little bit easier here. Okay. Big, small, medium. What was the design I was... Oh, I was looking at Lichen Rock as an example for the tail. Because I drew a Lichen Rock the other day for a video. Speaking of which, that video is supposed to drop. Let me see here. You're going to see me actively drop a YouTube video. And public. There we go. But yeah, So here, I was looking at Lichen Rock for a video recently, and I liked the tail, and I just kind of kept that in my mind. Not necessarily the tail, But the dumbest thing, how the tail connects to the body.
So from Rato again, so the more the shape pops it by itself naturally, the less it is needed to add extra details. Like Snorlax, for example, just a big fat lad with claws to no patterns on the big circle.
Yeah, Snorlax is a great example for bringing that up. He is meant to be big and simple. His stomach is meant to take up so much space that, why are we going to be competing for that attention with other details added on? For example, I see a lot of people who draw different things like, oh, we're going to draw Mega Snorlax, and we're going to give him these tufts of fur, and we're going to give him a fighting belt, or we're going to make him buff, and we're going to... That's great, but understand that you are taking away the one focusing aspect of the design. So what are you going to use to replace it? If you take away the big belly of that character, that's the big primary focus, by replacing it with a more muscular character body, what are you replacing? What are you bringing to replace that area? Come in here. There we go. And then we would come in here. I know we're running short on time here. I don't want to keep anyone too long. But yeah, it helps if I have the right brush selected first.
Wouldn't say it. Keep us as long as you want.
But what about as long as I want? No, I'm kidding.
Nah.
There we go. So we'll do that. And then
Oh
again,
no, Sylviette.
Huh?
No, just a person joined.
Someone joined right now.
Yeah,
Unfortunate.
the Ponita lover.
Oh no, we just talked about Ponita too.
Yeah.
It's right here. Yep, and it's right here. There's two of them. Another fun thing to do is look at how I'm doing my lines. I'm giving the illusion of this shape without fully committing to it. So if I turn off my sketch layer, you can see these swirls. I want them almost to feel like indents. So I'm using the pressure of my brush to help me with that. See, they're not fully created as their own shapes, but they are capable of distinguishing. Same with the eye there. And I'm doing all of this on the same... Everything that I've been doing, I've been using the same brush. Like a face painter. Except I get paid a lot less. I'm looking for opportunities to conserve my shapes. Here. There we go. Conserve that shape by making it a flowing shape rather than a cutout shape. We'll see that a little bit more here. And again, trying to use the shapes that we already have. Whenever I make little changes between the sketch layer and the line layer, I'm still keeping that in mind. Where it's like, oh, you could add this, you could add this. I could add a big fireball coming out of the chest. Wouldn't that be cool? It would be cool. No one's arguing that it wouldn't be cool. It's just, are you taking away from the design by doing so? Are you overcomplicating the look? Are you removing the shapes that you were using before? There we go.
Okay, I believe I have a question that's fitting for like if you do custom mega evolutions, for example, from
Yeah.
Rato. How would you even go about making a mega for Snorlax? Do you just make it bigger or something? I feel the design doesn't support the emphasis on something that is already at the limit.
I have a great answer for you in the form of an image.
He made it already.
I made it already. I did. So I've been doing something on my channel called Ultimate Evolution, where I take Pokemon and it's kind of an advancement of Mega Evolution. Here is an example of what I did. Kept the body mainly the same, emphasized the points that already exist, and build upon them from there. Did this video? Yeah, this video came out already. I was like, wait, hold on. Where? Big, small, medium, small, small. But here we're emphasizing the shapes that already exist. Again, you can change entirely the shapes that you're using, where it's like, oh, well, I want to do this instead, and I want to make him buff. I want to make him big and burly. How are you replacing what you've taken away from that design? Here, I kept it and I emphasized it even further by adding this big glowing orb to the center, by emphasizing the shape of the stomach with that outline of that tan color, and then creating these lines on top that feed into that. We're all feeding towards the center. Everything feeds the structure of the hands in the pose, feeding towards the center, feeding away from the center, feeding away from the center, away, 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 towards. But maintaining kind of what that area is. You could do something completely different. You could do something completely out of the box. How are you look at it as like money? You know, you have 3 boxes of money. Each one has $50 in it, and each one is an area that you are spending time. Well, if I'm going to make him buff and strong, I'm going to take $20 out of the focal area and I'm going to put it in the cool box. Well, now you have to replenish the focal area box. Because in the end, you want them all to be the same. Even though you're moving stuff around, you want everything to feel the same. I see a question, man. Is this dude open for commissions? I am. I'm not going to let Scan decide if I should answer that question or not.
No,
I'm going to answer it.
You're totally allowed. It's okay.
That was quick.
But yeah, that's the
Totally
idea there.
allowed.
But yeah, I don't know if we're going to finish the line art on this. I guess I could. It won't take too long. If that's cool. I know people need to go, and if people need to go, they got to go. But oh yeah, just a reminder too. I'm returning back to my 10 brush for my line art stuff here. See, remember, Scan? I said give us an hour, but it will probably go long.
No.
But we get the idea. We get the idea. If we have any questions on color or shading or highlights, I can answer those. But for this one, you know, I'm not going to finish the line art because we're about halfway through the drawing process on this. It will probably be another 15, 20 minutes just to color, just to get it colored and get the shading and everything in. But I can answer any questions that may come up. If that's cool, Scan. Am I eating into your time?
Totally. Yeah, totally fine.
Oculin says, from what I recall, my commission prices are very fair as well. If you could let everyone know that, because I get people all the time who are like, no. I'm like, all right.
Go gamers, get your questions out now.
I see someone saying the pupper needs bells on the ears and around the collar. For real? Yeah, you could. Again, simplicity. What are you swapping out? What are you changing? Because if we add something, like the neck is bare. I won't argue that. We could add something to the neck there. But with the cut-ins and lines that we have, we're going to be competing a lot of very round shapes for a lot of very harsh and sharp shapes that are right next to each other. Like look at the ears and the muzzle where we have those round shapes. They are far enough away from those jagged shapes that they feel like they're not competing. Color is such a complex topic. When experimenting with color, I would say find what you want your palette to be, especially in the beginning, and grab references that utilize those colors. Like that's a really good point. Like if we look at Pikachu, for example, I assume we all know who Pikachu is. Let me grab the official art of Pikachu here. And say, hey, we want this guy to be yellow. Well, which yellow are we talking about? Are we talking about Pikachu yellow? Are we talking about, which is from, Gen 1? Are we talking about how more modern groups take yellow, which is a little bit more vibrant? Pokemon, since moving very much away from hand-painted, we've gotten a lot more vibrant colors as we moved into digital. And a lot of that is because it sells toys. Like I talked to different people on my podcast about that. Like how much of it is about selling toys? Almost all of it. Stern, could you possibly do a 5 to 10 minute course on just the shading you would do for this design, like doing the shading in grayscale on the sketch? I could. I will also let you know that if you guys want more in-depth stuff, I didn't ask if I could do this, but I'm going to do it anyway because I'm here and I have a microphone.
Mute him quick.
No, if you guys want, like, hey, I am interested in learning the process more, looking further into it, on my Patreon at the $15 a month tier, every time that I do a video, you will get the Photoshop file for that. That breaks down layer by layer. I also sell a course that has me in a document going through the reasoning and purpose behind all of that. So all of that information is available. Thank you, Scan. All of that
No problem.
information is available to you guys. If it's like, hey, this is great, but I want more in depth, you can absolutely do that there. And when I get comments on those files on Patreon, I usually go through and I answer them. So my big thing has always been artists don't gatekeep. Yeah, I also have a tutorial on my YouTube channel that explains the process and tools. It's very simplified and it's very old, but it does. I do have a video that does that. I'm not going to tell you where it is. You got to watch all the videos to find it. I hate horses. I do hate horses. My purpose for
Problem
that
is that I'm quick.
Your problem is that you're quick. There it is. Oh my gosh, Scan. Scan just lost me like 50 views. No, I'm kidding. No, the process does change. You evolve as you go. But yeah, that is a really good base video. I still link people to that video. I say it's old. I think it's probably 8 months old.
7.
But it's 7 months old, and I started uploading to YouTube about 1.5 years ago. So I say it's old. It's really not. Linking the video. We will also all be leaving a comment. Thank you. Appreciate you. But yeah, I'm always down to answer questions. I will say this, and I say it everywhere that I'm at. Don't DM me. Message me. I would prefer that you ask the question on Discord and tag me. Or ping me on it, because I don't answer DMs. There's a lot of reasons for that. But can I DM you a commission? If you're paying me, then yes, feel free to DM me if you're asking if you can give me money.
If it's about money, always DM him.
Yeah. Can we DM you? Never. What if it's for a commissioner to pay you? Yes. So yeah, but that's the that's the stuff. I don't know if there's anything else that you need from me, Scan. If you and Lunatic have any questions, I would love to answer them.
I mean, I would say, first of all, thanks for being here, and thanks for you taking the time for the course, so people can learning how to make proper Fakemons. And yeah, if the others doesn't have anything to say or questions, from my side, that's it.
Yeah, thank you from my side too, and very informing. I hope people agree with me too. And I would have one more question regarding, well, let's say design changes. Like you had Pikachu pulled up right there, and we all know how Pikachu looked back then. Like he was a bit rounder and stuff. and he've gone to many iterations, not just color but shape and all of that. Do you edit your mons like after you've basically done them, finished them? Like, is there some time, like a month or a week or years in the future, where you would say, oh, okay, Pokemon's heading into that direction, I would love to revisit some older designs and like change them up to fit the newer generations?
Oh God, yeah. Do you have 20 more minutes?
I do. I
No.
don't know if people do.
No, my one thing that I tell people, and I say this, I get a lot of questions on my lives usually too, where people ask and say, "Hey, I'm having art block, or I don't know how to do this design. What do you suggest?" I suggest this: put down something, draw something that gets your idea out, knowing, God, this is going to be terrible. Leave for an hour, 2 hours, a day, a week, a month, whatever. Give yourself time to rest your eyes, give yourself time to rest your mind, come back and look at it. As an example, I did a design, let me pull it up here, because it didn't get posted anywhere. I may have deleted it. Let me see. I'll pull it up here. I put it on X. I did a design that I was in love with. I was like, this is such a great design. This is one of my favorite designs that I think I've ever done. Oh my gosh, this is amazing. Here it is. Tiny. I was like, wow, I love this design. This came out so good. What you're looking at is what I did to it after leaving for a day. So I did a design. I was like, I love it. This is amazing, but I have to go to sleep. I went to sleep. I came back the next day and I changed the color. I changed the proportions. I changed the stance. I changed so much of it. And this was after a day from me saying, this is the perfect design. Give yourself time to rest. Give yourself, your eyes, a moment to rest, because we get so blinded by, well, I spent an hour designing this, so it must be good. Sometimes you're wrong. It could be good. It could be fantastic. It could be amazing. But we get so blinded by the amount of effort that we've put in that leaving and coming back refreshes us to look and say, wow, this is crap, or whatever. And it allows you to kind of reframe how you were thinking about the design. Because this is the second iteration of this design, and I love it. But at the time that I came back to it initially, I looked and I had so many changes that I wanted to make to what I had previously said, wow, this is perfect. So yes, I do go back and I do redesign my stuff from time to time. Again, I've only been doing YouTube for a year and a half. So the longest that I would have to do that is a year and a half. But I do suggest walk away from your stuff and come back, because you will see changes that you didn't see before because you blinded yourself with how much time that you had spent on it. Does that answer the question at all?
It does. Thank you.
Nemo just asked the question if we will have more talks like this in the future. I mean, from my side, yes, I would love it. It just depends on Stern, but I will always recommend, if he's streaming, Stern, it goes also for you. If you post your streams, you can always post them in our, we have a channel for it. Like if you do videos or something, you can post everything in there, that people can also join your streams and ask their questions directly in your streams too.
Absolutely. Yeah. Hop into my videos and things like that. I break down all of the design as much as I can within those videos. Yeah. I have a video coming out on Wednesday. If you guys have a second, would you guys be interested in getting a sneak peek at some designs that are coming out?
Sneak peek, guys. Did you hear that?
Yeah. You have to promise to watch the video too, though.
Yeah, you need to watch the video, and Stern, you need to post the video here.
I know, I do. So, let me do this. I have a video coming out on Monday or Friday. I'll do that, and this is one of the designs that I did for it.
It's a tornado witch.
Yeah, your guess on who this is or for what the theme of the video will be?
Wicked.
No. Yeah. You're
No?
right. Yeah, you're right. You got it. So we have that, and then I have another video that's coming out on Wednesday. That one I know for certain is Wednesday. And let me see if I can pull that up here. That we'll see this guy in. Gibster got it in the chat there, said Stranger Things.
Okay.
But yeah.
I didn't watch it, so.
You got it. It's really good. Someone says Big Mouth.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, that's what I got. I hope that you guys have been educated.
Yeah, no, I want to see good designs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Keep those things in mind. Keep the notes in mind. Simplify your shapes. Big, medium, small is a great thing to do. Recycle your shapes. Don't make new ones just for the sake of it'd be really cool to add a spike here. If it doesn't inform or improve upon, and find a way to make it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
I don't know how to end. I don't know how to wrap up.
Yeah.
Sounds like you guys know where to find me.
But sometimes it's also on your videos. You have a perfect ending.
Yeah. All right, so I'll do that, and then I'll cut out, and you guys won't, and then I'll be gone. All right. But with all that said, it sounds like you guys know where to find me, and I will catch you in the next one. Boop. I love you.
Sick.
Thanks for everyone being here, and go donate him some money. He was really nice. I posted his Ko-Fi in there. Oh, Lunatic also. Give him some love. Okay, what we do now? So, who's ready for Among Us? No, I'm lying. I would say, have a nice day, guys, and stay tuned for 1.7 soon. Bye-bye.
See y'all. Goodbye.